Hey everybody, this is Seth from Comingouttarot. I'm just here for a little bit. I'm working through some of the questions in the 10 get to know your reader questions. Hey, are you kidding me? And I wanted to talk about the one question that asks, are the messages in your head or are they in the tarot cards? Primarily because I get that question frequently, like where do the hey Carla, where do the messages come from, or how do you know what you know, or how do you know how to connect into um, what message you should be receiving? Where does it all come from? And I have I guess a long answer. So first, hey, B 843. First, anybody who's been a tarot reader for a little bit has has a relationship with their cards, in particular, probably with one deck. So there's a deck that'll often thanks, Carla. There's a deck that'll often resonate with a reader more than other decks. Sometimes there'll be two or three. Like, for example, I have three that I love working with, but there is like one that really, really resonates with me. And that's the one that I work with the most. It's the Handle Tarot. So uh, I use that deck for multiple reasons. One, I love the way it's organized. I love the artistry of it. I love the imagery in it. I love the story of the artist who created it. I love the colors of it. It's kind of some very earth tone. I love that it's multicultural. I love that it's matriarchal versus patriarchal. So the female or the mother is the highest expression of the suit rather than the king in these European patriarchal decks. So I love everything that is infused. The spirituality of this man's life and so many different systems, divination systems, cultural systems, all in this one deck because it's like me. It um, is diverse. It is seeking new ideas and opinions all the time, and I think that the cards themselves are endowed with a spirit of accepting everyone and everything, being open to new energies and ideas, because that's the way the artist approached them. So, in particular, this deck, this handle deck, I think is truly one of those kinds of decks that allows messages to come through in a way that other decks may not, at least for me. So there are a lot of people who love Rider Waite. There's a lot of people who love the Wild Unknown. I love the Wild Unknown. There's another deck called the Marielle Tarot, which I also really, really love. All these decks that were hand painted, that have come from the soul of the artist, they really touch me. And I think that there is a symbiosis in that kind of divination and working with artists that have put their soul into something, and you're sharing that, even though, yes, I know it's mass produced, but there's still a piece of that artist's soul in the deck and in the artistry, and I connect to that. So yes, there is a degree of the message being in the deck if that artistry works with you and speaks to you. um, because it's kind of like, it becomes transcendent. So it's like when an actor reads, hey, Hotspot, it's like when an actor reads the words off a page. Those words are only as relevant, only relevant when someone is speaking them and when someone is hearing them and communication is taking place. So um, a script doesn't matter unless an actor exists. An actor doesn't matter unless the technician exists and can light the stage. So the the process of all of these things working together, yes. Hey, Stacy, I do think there is some degree of message that comes through the artistry in the deck because I'm able to connect to it, with it, and spread part of that story by virtue of what I'm able to do. So to a very small degree, like nth degree, point zero something, yes, the message is in the deck. I also think, hey McFanny, thanks Stacy, what's going on Lee? I Hi Yokimi on YouTube. Thanks for being here. Um, but I think the majority of the message is coming through me, and the deck is a part of that. I think, hey Bobby, I think the other part of that is my own intuition, awareness. Hey Bujane. And then I think the third part of that, because I really think there's threes, and so much of our lives comes in threes. There's even three people watching on YouTube right now, which I think is kind of cool. The third side of that is the spirit side of that. It's a spiritual side. Hey, as in mommy, Arizona mommy, I'm guessing. So the third part of that is a spiritual. So yes, there to some degree, the deck is a part of that because the artist's soul is there, the artist's story is there. The Asian mommy, got it. the creativeness, the spirit is there, and then I connect with that and I have my own sense of sensibility about my intuition and the experience and the life that I lived, and I bring that to the tarot reading. But then that third part, that spirit part, is that energy that we connect with that is greater than, that is ethereal, that is something that is untouchable or intangible. That spirit side of things for me is where a lot of those messages come from. And I'm going to talk about how that shifts and changes in the card and how it messes with my body and intuition too. So the spirit side, that's like 90%. The card is like 5%, and me is like 5%. So there's a 10% of me and this thing that is cardboard and ink. And then the other 90% is this spirit, this energy, this ethereal space. The spirit side of things has multiple facets to it, and the multiple facets to me are one like big source energy thing that some might call God, some might call spirit, some might call the ether. So there is this larger spirit energy, and that is one connect. The other connect are those spirit guides. Someone might call them angels, someone might call them spirits, someone might call them spirit guides. I like to call them spirit guides. Um, and those spirit guides help interpret for me that energy that is ethereal, that is intangible, that is untouchable, that is this thing that is all near us and around us. Spirit guide helps translate that for me. And there's two ways that they do that for me. So, one, I will sometimes hear voice of the one spirit guide in particular. I'll hear their voice in my head. Sometimes it's my voice, but I know there's no way I could come up with some of the shit that I come up with on my own. So there's a voice that I'll hear, and it'll say things and I need to share that story or that word or that turn of phrase. Um, then there are physical things that happen. So my body, hey Bosco, my body will feel something. It will like physically morph into a shape that needs to be discussed, or I'll feel stress in different places like my neck or my shoulders or sometimes my hands, that there will be tension that I need to address, or sometimes there's complete release and relaxation that I need to address. Um, and sometimes there's emotional experience that I have to focus on too, because usually I'm pretty good about keeping the emotional experience separate so that I can manage to get through the tarot reading in a way that's successful. But there are times where the emotional state is overwhelming, and usually that's because the person I'm reading for is broadcasting an emotion so strongly that I can't help but pick it up. And it will be amplified by doing the reading because I'm already open to a lot of energy already, and that emotion becomes amplified. And if it's part of the cards, it becomes even like triply amplified, and I need to address it so that it doesn't take over the reading. So I'll talk to the person. My emotions are overwhelming right now, and they're in this state. And this is why I think that's relevant. And we talk about it. And that allows me to get through that emotional state so that I can release it, let it be their emotional state, and I can stop taking it on. And then, hey, Ken, and then I am able to work through the rest of the reading. So there are those things that happen, but then related back to the cards, anybody who's hung out here with me for a little while and had a reading with me, I may have said to you, okay, there's a symbol in here I don't understand. Thanks, Kendall. And it either means something for me or it means something for you. And I'm going to tell you what it is, and then we talk about it. So you're in constant emotional distress. I believe it because you've been sharing some stuff with me. And my chuckle is that I wouldn't want to read for you. It's only when the emotional state is so overwhelming that it's uncontrollable for the other person that I tend to pick it up because they're broadcasting it so intensely. But it doesn't happen all the time. The martini moment, yeah. So you'll hear me say something like, I'll be looking at a card that has a bunch of brown background and maybe a couple trees and maybe a red dot somewhere, and I go, "What's the deal with the martinis?" Because I'll like see this image in the card that is nothing to do with what the card looks like. It's just something morphs. And like I was doing a reading for somebody yesterday at this amazing event that was about transgender wellness, and there was this big strawberry in one of the cards, and another one there was like three penguins. And the deck that I use doesn't have penguins and strawberries in it. Hey, Rita. So it's oh really, Carla? That's got to be exhausting. Um, and then the penguins were relevant to the person I was reading for when I said there's penguins here, and strawberry was relevant for the person I was reading for. So those images are created for me in the artistry of the card, and I believe that's either this spirit energy or spirit guide who is translating the message from spirit into the card so that I know what I need to bring up, so that it gives the confirmation I need to give in order for the person to feel like, yes, you're in the right place, so that it pulls the message out stronger, so that it leads the conversation in a direction that needs to be discussed, either because it's relevant to the topic at hand, or there may be somebody who's passed who could also be manipulating the images, so that we can have a conversation based on what someone who is past wants to bring through during the state of like a mediumship type of thing. So I love that you have that practice for yourself, Carla, to have make Sunday silent day. I think that was a brilliant idea. Um, so that's how it works for me. So is the message in the cards? Yes. Bujane, I am not reading tonight, but thank you for asking. I do read primarily on Fridays at 6 p.m. Central when I'm on here. If you ever see in my scope that it says Tarot Market, then I'm reading, and I'm available for readings via donation. Or you can always go to comingouttarot.com/shop, and I have email readings available over there. By the way, Carla, I know you're waiting for a reading from me about your strength. I got that on Sunday. I haven't been able to get to it yet. I promise I will. So yeah, part of the message is in the card, part of the message is in me, and part of the message is from this high time, is from this external ethereal thing, including spirit, including angel, like spirit guides. Um, and that all working together in concert, that's how the reading happens. That's how the story comes through. That's how the message is told. That's how the confirmation happens. That's how the next steps are decided upon, so that, hey, Queen, so that you and I can have the best conversation about where you are and where you're headed, and make the best choices for what's next in your life, especially like for the 2019 stuff that's coming up. Like today, I put up a blog post about how you might approach your 2019, and it's in direct correlation with working with the year ahead spread. The year ahead spread uh, lets me not only look at what might be coming up for you in each month in the year ahead in 2019, but it also gives us the opportunity, when you know what's coming, to think about how you want to attack it, what actions you want to have. It allows us, hi Rubla, it allows us to have the discussion not only around actions, but what are those goals that you have? And then what's that overarching objective, so that you have a North Star? Because when you've got that North Star and you've got the goals and you've got the objectives, you're going to be way more successful than if you just kind of hoped against hope and you had a few New Year's resolutions that you made after you've had a bottle of champagne. You know, you know what I mean? So, part of my favorite way to use tarot and work with tarot is know that there is that spiritual nature to it, that there is something greater than me that I'm connecting into to help create the best support I can for you. But it's also grounded and rooted in the practical. And it's Hey Angry Poet. And it is something that I use to help drive conversations around how to best move you forward and achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Oh, these damn bots. You get a question all the time. Is the you get the question, is the message in the cards or in your head? Hey Jason, how are you printing? So yeah, I the more and more that I thought about like how this works for me, uh, it's really that triumvirate, and it is not unusual for people who work in this kind of who do this kind of work to work in a in a manner of threes, to have a set of threes that guide you or lead you, especially for those who might be pagans or practicing witches. One of the common themes that you might hear is mother, maiden, crone. Right, so there's 1, 3. There's the Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. There's the Irish Trinity, and I forget what that is called, but it's basic. It's like a Father, Son, Holy Ghost thing. It's a spirit, material, and um, soul, I think. Uh, so that all of these things come in threes for us. So I'm not surprised that for me it is part material card, it is part soul for me, and it is part spirit. Thank you. I'm fascinated. I love that almost at least every month I meet someone new from Ireland in my scope. I don't know how it happens. I don't know why. Um, Three of my four grandparents were Irish and off the boat here in America. So maybe I have a strong connection, and that's what I don't know. Um, why would anyone make fun of dissociative identity disorders? I have no answer to that because I think that would be ridiculous. Um, Triquetra, am I saying that right, Jason? And thank you for the reminder. I knew it was I knew it started with a T, but I couldn't remember what it was. So yeah, the three thing is important to me. Even when I was, I'm saying it terribly, horribly, horribly wrong. How do you say it? That's what it looks like. Triquetra, triquetra. Hedakimum triquetra. Years. Year. Thanks, Jason. What brought you in today? You get to be you're the true Irishman. I just have Irish great grandparents. We're both Tauruses, and we both have rainbows in our profile. How Taurus are you? When's your birthday? For those of you on YouTube, this is the end of this broadcast. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna just wrap up on YouTube over here, Periscope. If you haven't followed me already, please subscribe so we can keep track of each other. And check out Coming Out Tarot if you haven't already. It's also where you can find out how you can get a reading with me over at the shop. And if you haven't checked out the year ahead spread, check it out, because if you're already part of my newsletter, you're going to get a coupon if you haven't already about how you can use that year ahead spread to your advantage with a significant discount. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to go back over to Periscope for a little while.